I will forever be changed for having been taught these lessons. Stop judging people. Stop saying what could or could never be you. Everything is perfected on the journey, and you rob yourself of the journey when you think you have to start the journey perfect.
We could be everything, anything that we see we could be. We could be everything that we want.
You guys, we just got a tornado warning. I'm just like getting all the Texas heat this season. I mean, every which way. Anyway, we just got our our very little bit of furniture delivered and all of our clothes. Hence the box behind me right here. This is my husband's stuff. And I could not be happier, even though it's Christmas Eve. I definitely will not be touching any of this stuff until after Christmas, that is for sure. However, I'm very happy because more of my fragrances arrived. I had packed in the box the large ambery saffron and the ambery oakwood. And I'm very excited because, yeah, I'm gonna be wearing this one. This one is a fragrance that is inspired by Angel Share. And I love this one. I'm so glad I put this in my cosmetic one that is easy to get to because I can now wear it. And then I think I want to mix it with, what do we want to mix it with? I think that I have it in my purse because I love, like I told you guys before, the Dossier Discovery set. So I have Bubbly Spritz Bitters in my bag, which I'm going to actually put back in my bag. I like having this one in my bag. This one mixes very well with the Ambery Oak Moss, so highly recommend that little combination right there. You guys know I am obsessed with Dossier fragrances. They start at just $29. They're inspired by some of the cult favorites, some of the most popular fragrances, and honestly, to me, not only are they a dead dupe, but in a lot of cases with the fragrances that are 200 and up, I feel like the lasting power for Dossier fragrances is much better. I never have to worry about like it all fading away like Jo Malone. Like, granted, Jo Malone smells good, but the Dossier version of that, the one that is inspired by Jo Malone, I feel like is better because it lasts longer and it's a lot more affordable. So for that alone, Dossier wins for me every single time. They also have diffusers and candles, which is not recent anymore, but it is more of a recent addition to their website. I have some of the diffusers, I have some of the candles, and I will be showing you guys where I place those in my house as I begin to decorate because I specifically ordered candles and diffusers for my home because the fragrances are absolutely amazing. Definitely check them out. I'll have them linked in my description box as well as the comment pinned in my comments if you guys are interested. I promise you guys, Dossier is one of the best hands down fragrance companies out there right now. So if you love fragrances, you like mixing fragrances, and you want a fragrance that is not going to break the bank, then check out Dossier. Thank you so much to Dossier for sponsoring this portion of the video. I am always going to be a Dossier girl. I love Dossier, what can I say? So yeah, now we're going to continue getting ready. Oh, that combination smells so good. It smells so good. Oh my God, it smells so good. I am not doing mascara or anything like that. I just did like a basic re-blow out my hair. You know what? This hair is lasting a little bit longer than I thought. Now, I will say I did refresh my ends, which I think is a contributing factor, but it's lasting a lot longer than I thought it would. And honestly, I'm gonna wear this little wash and go here till the wheels fall off because I cannot be bothered to do my hair again. I have this set that I got from Style We. I don't know if it's still available, but I will link it down below if it is. There we go. So it's a wide leg sweatpants. Yes, I have my new house shoes on. And then I have this right here. Now it is a little bit warmer outside today, so I don't know if I'm gonna keep this on, so that's why I have a tank underneath it. But I do like this little feature. Hold on, I'm about to show you guys right now. Not only is it balloon sleeves, but there's this feature right here to completely tighten it. And I just think that's a cute little unique feature. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten it. Let me see how I feel about that. I feel like this needs to, yeah. I love that. I think it's very unique and different. We're going over my brother-in-law's house. There's gonna be a few more family members there, and Christmas pajamas are strongly encouraged. So we're going right now to try to see if we could find some Christmas pajamas. We probably should have done this way sooner than now. However, we did not have the time. So I will be wearing this if I don't find anything. And to be honest, I might be wearing this anyway, but I do want to get the kids and my husband Christmas pajamas. I think I'm gonna wear this back too. Just a cute little, my little mini Fendi Spy. And then because it is pajamas encouraged, I think I will take my slippers, but I will wear my Sambas or something like that with the outfit. So yeah, this is what I'm wearing. I've also been really loving my Pascal watch that has the real diamonds in the face. It just looks so good with all of my jewelry that I wear. Look at that. How luxe does that look? Okay, yeah, I think that's it. Oh, and then I got these glasses from Amazon. Y'all know, I know I should not be ordering anything, but these have been in my safe for later for months, and I kept saying, oh, I'm gonna order them, and then never did. But I'm gonna go ahead and wear a pair of these today because I finally did just go ahead and order them. I got it in 2 colors. I got them in yellow and I got them in orange. I think I'm gonna wear the yellow. Let's see. Oh, these are so cute. Hold on, let me pull you up. Look at these. These are so cute, and they're perfect because you can wear them indoors because they're still kind of like see-through. I do think I'm gonna go with the yellow, but let's see what the orange looks like. The orange actually looks so dope with my hair. What do we think? Orange, yellow? By the time you guys see this, I would have already made a decision, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and go for the yellow for one reason and one reason alone. The gold bag. I feel like the gold bag is more complimentary to the yellow. So anyways, that is the look. It's Christmas Eve, you guys. I know you're watching this after Christmas Eve, but wishing and sending you guys so much Christmas love and joy. I love you guys so much. You have shown so much support to me. You have followed me on my journey. You have been rooting for me every step of the way, and honestly, I could not thank you guys enough. You have made my year just so much more amazing by being present and in it with your comments, your support, and your love. I can feel it all, and I just want to say thank you guys so much. I cannot wait for the next year and what that year has in store, but I will definitely be doing another video before the year ends, I believe, unless I decide to just include this video in that, because I just want to do a video about all of the things that literally I learned this year that changed my life. So I want to share all of those things with you. If you have been watching along the way and you have been there for some of the different like encouraging words that I've had throughout the year, then some of these things are going to be very familiar to you. But I just want to kind of compile them all into a list and not only remind myself, but for those of you who are new here, kind of let you guys in on what has profoundly affected and changed my life for the better. So let's get Christmas Eve going. We have so much to do. stopped. It was storming so bad. Oh my gosh, it's kind of light dark in here.
No light.
Okay, no lights. And there's pajamas right here, so you see? I think we should go for a solid color. And it looks like their scheme is green based on their photos. I think we might be late. I don't know if we're gonna be able to find holiday pajamas, guys. Maybe we picked the wrong place. Alright. Time to get a little creative. Found him a Santa hat.
Ho, ho, ho.
This isn't even actually a Santa hat. It's a crinkle cat toy.
This is crazy.
I mean,
No.
we couldn't find pajamas, so we're not going to be participating in the pajama thing. Cheers to the new year. Good morning. Today is the day this video is going to go live, but I did want to end this video off with something I think will be fruitful for you going into your next year, 2025. Now, when I went over my threads on Instagram is full of all of the lessons that God taught me this year, okay? It always came like after a dream. I would wake up from that dream, I would sit with the Lord, like, okay, what does this mean? And then when I would get the interpretation, it would always come with the lesson. Now, obviously, I've had way more than 40 dreams this year, but there were particular dreams that sat with me in a different way, and attached to those dreams were a lesson. When I went over all of the lessons on my thread, there were 40 lessons, which is wild to me because I feel like this year was my wilderness season. And for me to come out of my wilderness season with 40 lessons was basically like a lesson for every day in the wilderness. I have condensed those lessons down, and some of them are just very short and sweet things for you to remember. Some of them are a little bit more in depth. So I'm going to give you things that I learned this year that changed my life completely, and I will forever be changed for having been taught these lessons. Lesson number 1, in your weakness lies your strengths. There's no reason to hide behind this idea of perfection. This one was an interesting one for me because I feel like we are taught that we have to be perfect, especially in the age of social media. Everything is about an aesthetic and how perfect you can make something look, how inspirational and aspirational you can make something look. And while that's cool, because obviously it's always a good thing to be inspired, but I think that there is a fine line between being inspired and then it turning into this expectation you place on yourself to be perfect. Your strength is made perfect in my weakness. What that means is that every single time you humble yourself to the point that you know perfection for you is impossible, your imperfections then become your strengths, because in every single instance where you realize you're imperfect and you continue to try to work on it, you're learning something and you're gaining strength in your weakness. So don't shy away from imperfections or have this idea or thought in your mind that everything has to be perfect. When you just start and you start the work and you go for it and you do, whether it's perfect or not, everything is perfected on the journey, and you rob yourself of the journey when you think you have to start the journey perfect. Understand the difference between a cycle and a season. This is a big one. I feel like sometimes we don't really understand when we're stuck in a cycle because we become so familiar. If you are experiencing the same thing over and over and over again, but there's no fruit to show from it, baby, you are in a cycle, okay? It's like planting seeds in a garden that you never see the fruit of it grow. If God shows you a pattern or a consistent thing that you are doing over and over and over again, or a situation that you find yourself in over and over and over again, or you have scenarios that just keep happening to you. Like, the people can change, but the scenario is still the same, babes. Like, you're in a cycle. God is trying to show you that you are in a cycle. And I think that sometimes we confuse every year with, oh, this is my new season. But no, sometimes you get so stuck in a cycle that your life cannot progress. So whenever you have unhealthy patterns, unhealthy habits, and unhealthy situations that keep repeating themselves, no matter who is involved, dating the same guy, having the same type of friends, having the same kind of situation at your job, or whatever the case might be, starting something but never finishing it, understand you are in a cycle, not a season, and you need to break free from that. And that brings me to the next lesson, which is anything that grows, good or bad, has a seed. Now, this is such a profound lesson that I learned, because when I sat back and started looking at some of the patterns in my life and the things that consistently grew into something else and then something else and then something else, good or bad, it all stemmed from a seed being planted somewhere like way far back in my life. Even on down to my interests and my creativity, I noticed that, oh, you've always loved to write. You've always been creative with your words, or you've always loved to paint, or you've always loved to do this. And that was something that started way, 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 way back in my childhood. But then there were other habits like, wait a minute, when did you start caring so much about what people think of you? Like, those kind of things. Those are seeds that were planted somewhere in like mid-adolescence. Like, so you got to look at what you're producing, good or bad, and identify the seed of it, because obviously the things that are reproducing in your life that are bad, those bad seeds, you need to uproot them, dig them up immediately. I just want to say that I'm giving you these lessons in the order that I learned them, real talk, because I'm looking at how each lesson is flowing into the next, and I realized the kind of work that God was doing with me. Like, he had a whole conversation prepped and ready to go, and he was like, okay, first we're going to address this, then this, then this, and every single thing was a building block I needed in order to be able to accept the good seed. My heart had to be good soil, because this next one actually comes from that previous lesson as well. Healing starts with the truth. There are times where people can say, oh, I'm healing, I'm this, I'm that, you know. Yeah, everybody should be constantly working on themselves and healing and going through a season of healing. But here's the thing. You can't heal if you're still lying to yourself. And healing does start with the truth. You can't heal if you're not doing the work to find what's deep down hidden in your soul, because sometimes we're lying to ourselves, but we don't even realize we're lying to ourselves. It's just like a lie we chose to believe somewhere back in our past, or a lie we decided to believe because somebody told you that. Like, somebody said, you're not good enough. And so you chose to believe that lie, but you're trying to heal from people pleasing. You're not going to heal from people pleasing if you don't first uproot the lie that somebody told you, which was that you weren't good enough. You know what I'm saying? So healing in every sense of the word actually starts with coming to the truth. You wouldn't use a broken cup to hold liquid, and you can't drink from a broken vessel. Vessels must be suitable to be used. God chooses based on what he's going to pour in, and if the vessel is not suitable enough to hold it, he will move on to the next one. This one, okay, this one really got me for a second, because a lot of people say, oh yeah, I want to be used by God. I want God to use me. Yes, me, Lord, pick me to be used. But here's the thing. Why is God going to pour what he needs into something that's broken? It's going to all spill out. You're not even going to be able to hold it. Furthermore, you're sitting here running around trying to be the teacher for people, but you're still broken yourself. And sometimes when you're broken, your broken pieces cut the very people you're trying to help. So I think it's very important to make sure that if you want to be used for something, that your vessel is suitable enough to even hold what it is you're asking for. Similar to that, a perfume bottle that breaks spills its contents on everything it touches. And what it touches is marked by its fragrance. A broken vessel reveals what's inside. So is your fragrance sweet or pungent? And is your fragrance even suitable to be used or worn. That was a very interesting lesson for me, because when I thought back on all the times I had tried to help people, or times where I had really just wanted to, like, I'm just trying to help, but everybody's looking at you like, I don't want your help, and whatever. Like, it just, your help was not being received well, right? Sometimes the reason your help is not being received well is because your fragrance is putrid. I'm just gonna keep it 100. Delivery is always the most important thing, even more so than what you say. I remember being told once I had horrible delivery, and you know what? I can't even say that they were lying. They were very much, in fact, telling the truth, because in my delivery, a lot of times I didn't really care about how the person I was delivering the message to received it, because in my opinion, it was like, well, it's the truth. But the thing is, it's like, you have to be gentle with people, and you really do have to watch and pay attention to how you're delivering something, because if your delivery is off, the message completely falls through the cracks. Keep that in mind when you are dealing with other people. Your fragrance is leaking all over them. Is it a sweet smell, or is it putrid? Leaning on a solid rock can be hard and uncomfortable, but the same things that make it hard and uncomfortable are the very things that make it solid and consistent. Now, that one, a word. I remember having this dream that I had a bed that was a rock. And I remember thinking, this is so uncomfortable. However, when you have something that's built solid, yes, it might be hard and uncomfortable, but it's solid. It's not gonna break. You ain't gonna fall through the cracks, because it's solid. It may be uncomfortable, but it's solid. And sometimes when God is trying to grow us, he makes us really uncomfortable. Sometimes leaning on God can be so uncomfortable because you don't know what's gonna happen. You're literally leaning on him and trusting him, and he's a solid rock, but it's uncomfortable. So one of the things I learned is that, being uncomfortable is sometimes the best thing you can be, because leaning on something solid, at the end of the day, it's still solid. Period. That kind of like ties into where I'm at in my life right now, because I'm in a whole new state, a whole new city, away from my family that I've been, next to since I was born. Like, I've never lived outside of California, and I feel so uncomfortable right now. I cannot even explain to you how uncomfortable I feel. And in my mind, I wonder if I will ever feel comfortable again, truly. While on one hand, I would love to feel comfortable, on the other hand, I think that being too comfortable can work against you. It can be to your detriment sometimes, because when you are uncomfortable, you kind of take a lot more risks, because it's like, I'm uncomfortable anyway. Okay, how much more uncomfortable can it get? But when you're comfortable, sometimes you don't want to leave your comfort. You don't want to leave that comfort zone to go do what's going to make you uncomfortable, because being uncomfortable is real unpleasant. This is a real quick one, so I'm gonna just give it to you. Your prayers and your presence. A lot can be done with those two things. Not everything requires you to speak. I know sometimes we see people going through, and we really want to like jump in and help them and get in the trenches with them. But sometimes you gotta let people go through and work out their own deliverance, work out their own freedom, because if you save them, they won't know how to save themselves should something like that come up again. So your prayer and your presence. So many things can be done with just those two things, and I have seen it. I have seen it for myself, and I have seen it when I've been watching somebody go through, and I am on my knees for that person, like, Lord, please help them. Please help them, because they're struggling, and I'm concerned they might not make it. I'm gonna need you to step in on this one. And I watch God come through for them. And God comes through in a way that was so much more beneficial than if I would have tried to step in and go through it with them. Sometimes God's ways are ways that we don't understand. His ways are not our ways. Sometimes the way that God wants to bring somebody through something, there is a purpose behind it. And when we try to jump in and help somebody by being in the trenches with them and saying a whole lot, we get in the way of what God is trying to do. And one thing I will not be doing is getting in God's way. No, thank you. You have to be okay being misunderstood. Everybody's depth of field is different. Have you ever seen a photo of what depth of field looks like? It's a photography term, but even in filming and being a content creator, you understand depth of field. And what that is like when something in the forefront is more sharply focused, but then everything in the back is blurred, or you have those frames where everything within the frame is sharp and clear. sometimes people can only see what's closest to them. They can't really see all the stuff that's going on in the background. And so you have to understand that when it comes to each individual person, there's what's going on in the foreground, which is what's being presented, and then there's all the stuff that's going on in the back. And sometimes people can only see what you present. You can't expect them to understand and know what's going on beneath the surface. Their depth of field is different. There are times where I've been so completely misunderstood, and it's been heartbreaking for me. Like heartbreaking, gut-wrenching. Like, how have I said all of this and you still don't hear what I'm saying? You still don't understand? You got that from this? Like, how? I was so clear. But their depth of field is different. Not everybody is going to understand. There are times where you're going to be misunderstood and you just have to accept it. There may be somebody who misunderstands you for the rest of your life until the day you die. And you have to be okay with it, because in the end, God clears it all up. Don't go through life upset because you're being misunderstood. Just understand that everybody's depth of field is different. I remember God was dealing with me a lot about my anger and how enraged I can get, and my rage would turn into vengeance and trying to take vengeance as my own. But you gotta understand, anger is like shattering glass on the kitchen floor and somebody else walking in and stepping into it. You don't mean for them to get cut on your broken pieces, but they do. The things we judge harshly will be the same experiences we see until we know grace. Step carefully. There are times where people can be so judgmental. They look at you like, oh, that could never be me. Bet. Because I have been on the receiving end, and I have seen somebody judge somebody so harshly, like, oh, that could never be me. I don't get why they can do that, and da-da-da-da-da. They just got so much to say about it, right? But you just never know. God is a just God. And at the end of it all, he will not have you ignorant. So if you really don't understand, like if you could even form your mouth to say, it can never be me, already you're operating in pride and you're arrogant. Because the thing is we are all one decision away from being face down in a gutter somewhere. All of us. Like, nobody's exempt. That person who says, oh, I could never do this, it could never be, you don't know what led up to that person having to make that choice. You have no idea what their childhood was like, what their adolescence was like, what they had to go through, what they might have experienced, the abuse they might have endured, what they were told that broke them down, that led to them making that choice. You have no idea. So to sit back from the outside and say, oh, it could never be me, is arrogant. It's arrogant. So don't ever have that mindset, because everybody is going through something and everybody has a reason for why they make the choices they make, good or bad, right or wrong. They all have a reason and something they've gone through. And that's why there are certain people that God gives grace to. You look at people doing things and you're like, I would never get away with that. The reason you would never get away with it is because you know better, and God knows what you've had to go through in order to get to that point of making the decision. And he's looking at you like, baby, you know better. Like, you know better. You're about to get a consequence for you. Whereas that other person, he knows they were never even taught. They're doing this because it's all they know to do. And those will be the people that you see get away with things because God has given them grace. Like, you got saved by the bell. Like, you really got saved by grace on that one. But don't do it again. Hopefully you learn your lesson. Stop judging people. Stop saying what could or could never be you. Life happens, and at the end of the day, you don't know what you might do if put in the right set of circumstances and the right situation. I was definitely it could never be me type. I used to definitely say stuff like that. Like, I don't understand. And it was why I didn't have grace for people. Like, I wouldn't even give grace to people because I'm like, I don't understand. That decision was dumb. I don't understand why they did that. It could never be me. I don't get it. So therefore, no grace. You deserve that. I used to be that kind of person. But then I found myself in a situation where I'm making choices I'm looking back on like, girl, what were you thinking? And at the time, having people judge me like, what are you thinking? It could never be me. I would never do that. But the thing is like, dang, I was judged in the same way that I judged somebody else. Yeah, the situation might be different. Okay, maybe I wasn't in the exact same situation, but a situation where I didn't really know better was judged. And it's so unfortunate because I remember judging that person for their situation, and maybe, just maybe, they also didn't know any better. I remember this lesson like it was yesterday. And the lesson was, when you sit apart from the crowd, you see where everyone stands. And that is the... I remember this dream. It had such an effect on me because a lot of times we want to be in with the crowd. We want to go with the flow of what everybody else is doing. But the thing is, it's like when you take a step back and you look at everything from the outside and you look at the inner workings and you kind of just see what everybody is doing, you really do see where everyone stands, and you can make a better judgment call. And anybody who wants to be set apart with you, because really this is a lesson about being set apart. When you're set apart, you see where everyone stands. Like, come on, like, what's better? Being set apart or being just like everybody else? You really need to take the time to remove yourself from situations where you're trying to do what everybody else is doing, so you can really see and observe the effects of what it is they're actually doing. Sometimes when you remove yourself from situations and you see who comes to follow you, or you see who comes to stand with you, that's also very telling. Because if I remove myself and you don't even notice that my presence is gone, well, then that means that you didn't deserve my presence in the first place. Knowledge is power, but wisdom is life. You ever hear that saying? You hear it all the time. You're constantly told in school, knowledge is power. Sometimes knowledge of the wrong thing. I was gonna say something else, but I'm like trying not to get demonetized. Yeah, knowledge of the wrong things can put you in harm's way. Not all knowledge is good knowledge. So yes, while knowledge is power, using wisdom brings life. Wisdom is the most important thing. Wisdom is even better than knowledge because wisdom will tell you how to apply what you know. Somebody who has knowledge and wisdom is always going to do better than somebody who simply has knowledge, because you can have all of these things that you know, but the fact that you don't even know what to do with it, then what do? Knowledge in the wrong hands can cause a lot of damage. Which brings me to, you can chew on the fruit, but are you digesting it? Everybody talks about the fruit of the spirit. I'm operating in the fruit of the spirit. I remember this lesson, watching somebody take a bite of fruit and they chewed it. And then when it became unpleasant, they spit it out. Sometimes operating in the fruit of the spirit can come with an unpleasant taste because you're taking hit after hit after hit. Sometimes operating in the fruit of the spirit is swallowing your pride. Swallowing your pride is very unpleasant going down. Okay, trust me when I say this, it's very unpleasant going down. You're chewing on all of this fruit, like God is giving you fruit to eat. How dare you spit it out? So you can chew on the fruit. You can get all of the benefits of the fruit by chewing it and tasting it and all of that. But really the true benefit comes when you digest it. So you can chew on the fruit, but are you digesting it? Because when you digest it, it changes what goes on inside your body. It changes what you put out. All right, I'm done with my makeup, so we're gonna finish the rest of this right here. Be careful who and what you idolize. Anything you elevate to a place it doesn't belong will eventually fall, because God always puts things right in the end. I got a lesson in this many times, okay? One time more than I would have liked, okay? And I remember that there was a certain point where I idolized a particular friendship. Like, I held this person in such a high regard that I was holding them above God, because God was instructing me to do things and I wasn't doing them because of what I thought this person would think of me. And it's like, what? Like 1 + 1 does not equal 2. Like, how could you possibly elevate the opinion of somebody else above the opinion of God? Like, what does God think of you? That is the question that you always need to ask yourself. Not what so-and-so thinks of you, not what this person thinks of you. There are times you can idolize your family and your children, your marriage. Like, do you hold your marriage and your children above instruction that God is giving you because you feel like, you know, I don't want to lose my family because of this, but God told you to do something. So you got to believe that whatever God instructs you to do, your family's going to be covered in the process. And the thing is there are times where God instructs us to do things that are scary. The instructions are always going to come with the thought or the possibility that things can go wrong. You're not always going to have complete and total peace about something God told you to do. That is a lie, okay? It is a lie. Because what would faith be if you were always so sure? Faith wouldn't be required if you were always so sure that everything would be okay in the end. You don't always know. Sometimes you're just moving and trusting God. So when you hold anything above whatever it is that God wants you to do, he will remove that thing from you. Okay? Like, he will remove that thing from you. And I personally am not in the business of letting God remove things from me. I'd much rather say, okay, Lord, I hear you. Let me go ahead and take a step back. And what did you say you wanted me to do again? That I would much rather be there. Because when God starts removing things, oh, it's a bit painful. Sometimes I'm gonna just leave it there. It is painful. When you ride the wave of what's popular, you lose yourself in the current. Don't drown trying to please others. I think that's enough said right there. I mean, you kind of get the picture. It's kind of like what I said before, but like he felt like, Jillian, I need to reiterate this for you just in case you forgot. So I got that lesson twice. When you're burdened down and you carry your burdens to the Lord, you gain strength in the process. Imagine having a burden that's 10 pounds and you got to walk a mile to carry it to God. By the time you get to the end of that mile, you have gained so much strength in the process, because carrying your burdens, it's a workout. It's an exercise. You're going to gain strength the more you learn to carry your burdens to the Lord. Sometimes it's a mile away. Sometimes it's 5 miles away. Sometimes he's like, no, baby, I got you. Just take a few steps. But regardless, when you have a burden and you choose, I'm going to carry it to God, you gain your strength in the process. Lay it down from the start and it will flow where it's supposed to go. There are times we try so hard to dictate, control, and determine how something's going to go. But when you lay that something down at the feet of God, you lay it down from the start, like, God, I'm submitting this to you from the start. It will always flow where it's supposed to go because God is the one directing it. But when you're determined to take it from point A to point Z, that's where you run into problems because you got all the other alphabets along the way. Where there is light, there is truth. Question every voice that does not want the truth revealed. Anybody who tells you to lie. Anybody who wants to keep something secret that they know is wrong. Anybody who wants you to be deceptive or intends to deceive. Question that. Question the integrity behind that, because God would never have you be deceptive in order to move you forward. I'm gonna do one more because I don't want this video to be too long, but honestly, I actually have 10 more lessons. So if you want the other 10 lessons, comment down below. I will include them in another vlog because, like I said, these lessons have changed my life forever. But the last lesson I want to share with you: if you think you're a prisoner, your mind becomes a prison. If you think you're free, then your mind becomes an escape. Anything you set your heart to accomplish can be done, because as a man thinks, so is he. Remember that perspective is everything. I don't think people really understand how much your mind can be a prison and how what you think can imprison you. There will be times where you are called to help somebody who ridicules you. There will be times you are called to help somebody who's never meant you any good or who has never done anything good for you, but God says, no, I want you to help them. As a child of God, we have power in prayer. And if you choose to withhold your prayers all because of how somebody makes you feel, you have then become imprisoned. As a man thinks, so is he. That scripture is so deep because it's not just about manifesting. It's about the whole of how you think. How you think can be a detriment or it can be a benefit. How you think about situations will either move you smoothly through them and give you grace, or put a hard stop on anything you're trying to do. There is so much freedom in just knowing you're free and not being a victim, or not being taken, or not being susceptible to changing how you feel and what you do and how you move just based on how the world treats you and what the world thinks. There is so much freedom operating outside of that, which is why as a man thinks, so is he. So as you go into your new year, remember that perspective is everything. If you think you're imprisoned, then you are going to feel like a prisoner. But if you know that you are free, you will move like you are free. Stop letting the world dictate how you move and understand where your freedom comes from. Understand who holds the key. So with that being said, I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for following my journey this year. This was season 24. We have season 25 starting just next year. I'm gonna take a little bit of a break because one of the things that I want to do is set my prayers for 25. I know a lot of people say set intentions, but I want to set my prayers. The beginning of this year, I wrote a list of 5 things and I began every sentence with God will. That was my vision board. I didn't do pictures or anything like that. I just literally said, God will do this, God will do that. And I put things on that list that I thought there is no way that God could do this. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to write it anyway. God will do this. When I look back at that list, one of the things that I had on the list is God will move my family into a home. And I said it will have this many bedrooms. It'll have this many bathrooms. I'll have this much space. And God did exactly that literally at the last part of the year. The last part of the year. And it was something I thought was impossible because I knew I was quitting my job that year. I'm like, my income is not going to be included in this. I don't even know. Like, I just had no clue how God was going to do it, but I put it anyway and he did it. And I thought to myself, like, wow, I put 5 things. If I knew he was in the neighborhood answering prayers, I would have put like 10 things. I also looked at all of the prayers that I prayed for others this year. And I saw how God answered my prayers for other people. And it brought me an immense amount of joy to watch God answer my prayers for others. So this year I decided, instead of writing a whole entire list of intentions, you know, and things that I want for myself, I'm actually going to spend my time writing a list of prayers for everybody else. So my vision board, so to speak, or my list is going to consist of everything I want God to do for everyone else. The people that I love, the people that I care about. I'm gonna make a list of things that I want God to do for them. And as for my list, it's only going to have one thing. God will do everything he intends to do for me this year. And as each month passes, I'm going to write down what God did for me that month. So at the end of the year, I can see everything that God intended to do for me for the year of 2025. So I encourage you guys, in setting your goals and intentions and everything for 2025, there is such a blessing in being selfless and doing it for others. Instead of writing one for yourself, write it for the people that you care about. Write everything that you want God to do for everyone else around you. And just simply say for yourself, I want you to do whatever you want to do for me this year, God, and see what miracles happen. I love you guys so much. You have a wonderful, wonderful New Year's Eve. And I will see you guys in 2025.